If you wake up tired every morning, need a coffee to survive, or even struggle to keep your focus during the day, your sleep quality might be your problem. And I don't necessarily mean that you're not sleeping enough. Actually, a lot of people hit that 7 to 9 hour window that lots of experts recommend, yet they still feel completely drained the next day. And the reason is simple. You don't just need long hours of sleep, but also high quality during these hours. And so, in this video, we will expose 10 of the most common reasons many people destroy their sleep quality without even realizing. And know that none of this content is medical advice, but just educational content. So without further ado, let's get into it. The first bad habit you might have is not actually a habit, but simply the fact that you might lack daylight exposure. It may sound contradictory, but your sleep actually starts in the morning and not in the evening. Your body runs on an internal clock called the circadian rhythm. And one of the most powerful ways to set that clock is through light exposure. More specifically, the natural daylight in the first hour or two after you wake up. When sunlight hits your eyes, it signals to your brain that it's daytime, and that signal then triggers a cascade of hormones. For example, cortisol rises to give you alertness, and your body begins counting down the hours until it's time to release melatonin at night. That late evening melatonin signal is what actually makes you want to sleep. This is where working from home can surprisingly actually hurt you. When you roll out of bed and go straight to a dim home office or a dark kitchen, your brain never gets that clear daytime signal. Your phone or laptop might help a bit in the morning, but true sunlight sends a very clear signal to the brain that no artificial light can replicate. Now, your second bad habit might be that you expose your eyes too much to blue light before going to bed. Here I'm talking about your phones, tablets, televisions, laptops, and all the electronic stuffs you love that produce consistent blue light. And in case you're confused by the term blue light, this is the natural white light that appear on your electronic when you use them. They don't literally appear blue from the human eye, but it's still what it's called. This light is a light that sits on the short wavelength end of the visible spectrum, and your brain is extremely sensitive to it. I don't want to get too deep with the definitions, but what you have to understand is that blue light suppresses melatonin production, and sometimes by several hours, simply because your brain interprets your phone's light as the same light you receive from the sun. A popular recommendation from sleep researchers is to avoid bright screen exposure for at least 60 to 90 minutes before hitting bed. But since I know that you probably won't stop scrolling on your phone, here are some other ideas to help you reduce the impacts of that light. First, you can wear blue light blocking glasses. Second, you can activate night mode on your devices. And third, you can dim your screen significantly in the evening. The goal is to stop sending your brain a wake-up signal right when you're trying to shut it down. And if you want to use the first option, which is wearing classy anti-blue light glasses, in the video description, you'll find links to order some for yourself on Amazon. Using these links would directly support the channel as well. Next, the third bad habit you might have is that you keep your bedroom temperature too warm. Temperature is one of the most underrated factors in sleep quality, and most people's bedrooms are simply too hot. Many experts say that your body needs to drop its core temperature by about 1 to 2 degrees Fahrenheit in order to fall asleep, and more importantly, to stay asleep. This isn't optional, it's actually a biological requirement. The sweet spot for most people is somewhere between 65 and 68 degrees Fahrenheit, which is roughly 18 to 20 degrees Celsius. That might feel cooler than what you're used to, especially if you like feeling cozy. But there's a difference between being warm under a blanket and having a warm room. What matters is that the ambient air around you stays cool enough for your body to regulate its temperature naturally. The fourth bad habit you might have is that you use your bed for anything other than just sleeping. You have to understand that your brain is mostly an association machine. It is constantly linking environments to behaviors and states of mind. And if you spend hours every day in your bed watching Netflix, answering emails, doing homework, or just scrolling your phone, your brain starts to learn that the bed is a place for being awake and active, and not for sleeping. This is a concept in sleep science called stimulus control, and it's a real and well-documented problem. What happens is that over time, getting into bed no longer triggers sleepiness in a lot of people. Instead, it triggers alertness, or distraction, or anxiety about not being able to fall asleep. Your brain is simply doing what it always does, which is responding to context. If the context of your bed has always included a lot of wakeful activity, that's what it'll expect. Now, your fifth bad habit may be that you have an inconsistent sleep schedule. Your circadian rhythm isn't just a rough guide, but actually a precise internal clock that your entire hormonal system runs on, and it functions best when you give it consistency. Going to bed and waking up at the same time every day, including weekends, reinforces that clock by a lot. Your body starts releasing melatonin at a predictable time, cortisol rises at the right moment in the morning, and your sleep cycles run more completely and efficiently. When your schedule is all over the place, that clock gets confused, and sleep quality pays the ultimate price. A lot of us tend to think that we can catch up on sleep over the weekend. So we stay up until 2 a.m. on Friday and Saturday, we sleep in until 10 or 11, and feel like we've balanced the books. But that's not how our bodies work, unfortunately. Sleep debt isn't fully reversible just by sleeping in, and shifting our sleep timing by several hours is essentially giving ourselves mild jet lag. Many researchers actually call it social jet lag. It disrupts our REM cycles, it reduces our slow-wave sleep, and it leaves us feeling groggy and off on Monday even though we slept plenty of hours. And that logic applies to long weekend naps as well. And so many researchers mention that the most powerful thing we can do for our sleep architecture is to commit to a consistent wake time every single day and let everything else adjust around that anchor. The sixth bad habit you want to avoid is taking caffeine 8 hours or less before bed. Most people know that coffee before bed is a bad idea, but a lot of people massively underestimate how long caffeine actually stays in your system. Caffeine has a half-life of roughly 5 to 7 hours in most adults. That means if you have a coffee at 3 p.m., about half of that caffeine is still in your bloodstream at 9 or 10 p.m. And it's not just making you feel awake. Caffeine actually works by blocking adenosine receptors. Adenosine is the sleepiness chemical that builds up throughout the day, and it's what creates sleep pressure, that heavy, tired feeling that makes deep sleep actually possible. The moment caffeine clears, all that built-up adenosine hits you at once, but by then it might already be the middle of the night. Now, many people might say that they sleep well even if they take caffeine within 5 hours to bedtime or even right before sleep. But many studies show that even for these people, they get measurably less slow-wave deep sleep, which is the most physically restorative stage of sleep. They often don't notice because they still clock enough total hours, but the quality is degraded without them even realizing it. Your seventh bad habit might be that you eat too heavy or too spicy meals within 4 hours to bed. Have you ever heard of the quote that, "We are what we eat"? Well, when it comes to your sleep, it seems to be true. When I say a heavy meal, you can think of large portions of red meat, fried food, rich pasta dishes, or anything that sits in your stomach for a long time. You have to understand that when your body digests food, it diverts blood flow and energy toward that said digestion. Not only that, but your core temperature rises slightly from the metabolic effort, and your system stays in a kind of active state that's the opposite of what your sleep needs. This makes it harder to fall into deep sleep and increases the chance of waking up during the night as well. Spicy food adds another layer. Spices like chili, cayenne, and hot sauce can raise your body temperature and commonly cause heartburn or acid reflux, and both of which are notorious for waking some people up. But even if you don't have a diagnosed reflux condition, a heavy spicy meal too close to bed can cause low-grade discomfort that pulls you out of deep sleep without you fully waking up. So though I'm no doctor, the general recommendation is to finish large or rich meals at least 3 to 4 hours before bed. Now, the 8th bad habit. You take naps after 3 p.m. Napping can be a genuinely useful tool for recovery and alertness, but timing is everything. Throughout the day, your body builds up sleep pressure through what experts call adenosine accumulation, like mentioned earlier. That pressure is what makes sleep feel deep and restorative at night. When you nap late in the afternoon, you're essentially releasing some of that pressure artificially, which means that by the time your actual bedtime arrives, you don't have enough sleep drive built up. You then lie in bed not feeling particularly sleepy, it takes longer to fall asleep, and you often end up in lighter and less efficient sleep stages. If you feel strongly about napping, the evidence-backed advice is to keep it short to about 20 to 30 minutes max, as well as finishing it as early to mid-afternoon, ideally before 1 or 2 p.m. These kinds of short nap can boost alertness and mood without meaningfully cutting into your nighttime sleep pressure. Now let's move to the 9th bad habit, which is to consume refined sugar before bed. Refined sugars are the processed, rapidly absorbed sugars found in things like candy, cookies, chocolate bars, ice cream, white bread, sugary cereals, drug juice, and most packaged snacks. They cause a fast spike in blood sugar and then follow by a sharp energy drop. And when that blood sugar crashes overnight, your body responds by realizing stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline to raise your glucose levels back up. Those hormones are stimulating, and they frequently pull you out of deeper sleep stages into lighter ones, or they can wake you up entirely, often around 2 to 3 a.m. This is actually a very common cause of that mysterious middle-of-the-night waking that a lot of people experience. They fall asleep fine, but then find themselves wide awake a few hours later for no obvious reason. Blood sugar instability is frequently the culprit. Beyond that, high sugar intake before bed reduces the amount of time you spend in slow-wave deep sleep and can disrupt growth hormone release, which happens primarily during those early deep sleep cycles. And growth hormone is critical for your physical repair, your immune function, and your metabolism. The general advice from many experts is to avoid refined, sugary foods for at least 2 to 3 hours before bed. Some researchers push that to even 4 hours for particularly sensitive people. Now, the number 10 bad habit. You exercise intensely too close to bedtime. Exercising is genuinely one of the best things you can do for your long-term sleep quality, based on many professionals. But high-intensity exercise too close to bedtime creates a short-term conflict inside your body. When you do intense cardio, heavy lifting, or vigorous interval training, your body responds by elevating your heart rate, massively raising your core temperature, and flooding your system with stimulating hormones like adrenaline and cortisol. All of those responses are the opposite of what your body needs to transition into sleep, and they don't resolve instantly. They can actually linger for several hours. Knowing that, the general guideline from sleep researchers is to finish intense exercise at least 3 to 4 hours before your intended sleep time. Some people can handle exercise a little closer to bed without issue, but for most people, a vigorous workout at 9 p.m. when they're trying to sleep at 11 p.m. is going to cost them in sleep quality. It typically delays sleep onset, it reduces slow-wave deep sleep in the early cycles, and increases nighttime awakenings. The good news is that moderate or light movement, like walking, yoga, or gentle stretching, doesn't carry the same risk, and it can actually support relaxation before bed. That's pretty much it for the video. Feel free to comment how many of these bad habits do you have on a regular basis. Give the video a like if you enjoyed it, and subscribe for more content like this. In the meantime, why not watch one of the videos showing on your screen right now? I'll see you on the next one.